Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Complaint Free Life. And with you, your host, Sel Ormonova, greeting you from Rome. So it's the weather is so hot and swimming is been just so amazing. So that's why my work/vacation time is going great. And I wanted to talk to you today about a very particular topic that is applicable to humanitarians mostly, but it's also very beneficial for everyone else who are trying to achieve whatever the goal you're trying to achieve and who wants to also transition to the life that you love living, then this is applicable to you as well. And the topic that I want to talk about today is self-concept during transitioning. In other words, transitioning self-concept, I'm calling it. Before I dive into this topic, I just want to remind you all that, as you know, I have organized a retreat in Kyrgyzstan in September, 12th to 16th September, and I'm so excited about it. And I would love to have you join me in that retreat where we will be talking about this self-concept and many other topics of how to build that self-concept and what are the things necessary to start trusting yourself to implement all the things that you want to implement and how to not give up and many other topics. And what's great about that retreat is that once we have decided and reflected and decided on all of those things, then you will have a lifetime of opportunity to work on all the things that you want to work on. And then I will be coaching you in that process. And all of that is only for $3,000. And I think this is the offer that no one is making as far as I see and as far as I know. So that's why this is a steal offer. So I'm offering it to 10 people to begin with to see how it goes. And I'm delighted to greet you. So message me or email me on this offer until 31st of July. Okay, having said that, so let's come back to the topic of self-concept of a transitioning person. The reason why I thought that it would be so important to talk about it is because we often feel like we need to be doing lots of things and trying lots of different things without really checking what is our self-concept behind those things that we're doing. Because as we know that action on its own is not really effective if we're not really clear as to how we're approaching that action, right? So if we're approaching an action believing that it's not possible, it's not going to work, then whatever the action we take, as long as it takes, we may not make it work because the background self-concept is that we're not capable of making it work, right? So whenever we don't really believe in ourselves and our capabilities, our abilities to make things work, then no matter what we do and how much we do it, we may not really succeed it well, or we may end up compromising things that we don't want to compromise. And then we're not really feeling like we have done a good job. So that's why I thought that it's so important to talk about the self-concept before starting our transitioning journey or before starting to do lots of actions to get to our goal. And in this episode, I also want to talk about self-concept of people who feel like they have been forced to transition. In other words, they have been laid off or they couldn't get another contract or whatever it is, and they feel like they had to go and do something else or look for something else. I will be talking about that as well, because it's important that whatever you hear now in the self-concept, all of this could be applying to you. Now, before getting into the self-concept, I thought, what are the problems that humanitarians in transitioning usually have to solve for? and what is the self-concept we needed for those problem solving, right? Because there might be lots of different ways that we can problem solve, and we are already doing it at work as a humanitarian, as a professional. We know how some of the ways how we solve problems. We know the structures in which how we can solve problem, but this will be a bit different because we are going outside of that environment that we know. We're going outside of that framework that we know, and we may need to have our own framework or how to handle all of this. So that's why it's important that you pay attention to first, what are the problems that we will be solving for, and what kind of self-concept we need so that we know how to solve them. So the problems that I see all come down to these categories, and whether you have been forced to leave or not forced to leave, these all will apply to you anyway. So one of the problems that we will be solving for is the problem of it all doesn't depend on me. So how my transitioning goes, how my future goes, or how what results I create does not depend on me. This is the problem that we need to be solving for, because this will be coming up a lot throughout our journey. The other one will be it's not working, it's not going to work. And the third one will be I'm scared, I'm ashamed, I'm guilty, or I feel guilty. So these are the emotions that will often come up in the transitioning. And I'm just looking at my notes so that I don't miss out anything. And the third and the fourth one is it's hard, it's unpredictable. Right. So these will be four problems that in various different ways will come up and you need to be solving for. So now the question is, what kind of a person we want to be in solving those problems? Now, usually what I see happen oftentimes is that we tend to solve these problems from the concept of ourselves of being, I'm not really good at this. I have never done this before. I can't believe this is happening. I didn't really expect this. I'm not cut out for it. This type of self-concept that we usually have. And those self-concepts may not be really helpful and conducive to solving those problems, especially we are in stress situations, especially we are in overwhelmed situation where we have a lot of things happening. So that's why it's important that we prepare ourselves and have our self-concept of the person who actually know or who believes at least that she or he can solve for these problems, right? So that's why the self-concept that I'm offering to you for you to consider and also adopt it for yourself is the following. So the first part of the self-concept I really want you to work on is I'm the person who's in charge. I'm the person who's in charge who can create the results she or he wants. And I am in charge of things that are under my control. This is the concept that I think oftentimes we don't really adopt it because we have a lot of beliefs as to how things don't depend on us. Right? So for instance, if we go to a job interview, we often go from the assumption that things don't really depend on us. It will just happen the way it happens because there's so many people involved. The decision is not made by me. So that's why, how am I gonna know if I will really be able to influence the process or not? Now, this may be true in some ways, but believing that it's true may not really help us. Because if we go with that self-concept of it doesn't depend on me, and the concept of I can't really influence this outcome, then what will happen is that we will probably do the minimum, or even if we do the maximum, we will still have that tingling, nagging voice behind or somewhere in the background saying that, well, it doesn't really matter how much you prepare, you will not be able to get what you want anyway, right? So you know what I mean? So that's why it's important that we actually switch that belief to the belief of I'm the person who is in charge of the outcome that I will expect. Even if our brains will be saying, well, factually, it's not this, factually, it's not that, ask yourself and be curious with your brain as to what if I was in charge of getting the result that I want from this job interview, even if other people are involved. So how would you solve for this problem then? Right? How would you be very creative, or how would you be explaining to the new employer as to why you would be the person to hire? Do you see what I'm saying? That if we keep believing that it doesn't depend on us, obviously we will not be doing much of the work. And even if we are doing it, we're not really doing it with conviction or commitment. But if we have the self-concept of the person who says, I'm in charge and I know how to handle things, I know what to do, then we will be the people who then start working through as to how to solve for that, how to get the exact result that we're wanting without compromising. Right? So that's why I would love for you to work on that self-concept by practicing already now with everything that you're doing, and find out for yourself what it is like to be in charge and having the exact outcome that you are wanting from that situation, no matter how many people are involved in that situation, right? So this is, I think, huge, that many people are not really conscious or aware of it. And that's why we tend to often set a goal and then just hope that it's gonna work out, or make an application and then just hope that it's gonna work out. Now, hoping is great, and I think it has helped me as well in so many ways, but hoping and being in charge and knowing how to get the result you want is two different things. Hoping is something like we're waiting for the luck to happen. And of course, we want to be lucky, and that's great. But in order for us to have that luck, what if we just need to work on that result by us believing that we are in charge? Now, whenever I'm saying this, I think I have also talked about this in the previous episodes, this is that many of us have this belief that it's up to God and it's up to universe or other divines who are in charge of us, right? Many of us believe that this is, and we've been raised this way, that if we say that I am in charge, then I will be maddening those divines and forces, and therefore I shouldn't be saying that, or I don't want to be saying it, and I don't want to contradict it. And I totally understand it, because when I was small, I was raised in a Muslim family. So obviously, sorry, my mom's feet, you can see. We're sharing a hotel room. Okay. So coming back to, so whenever you are having those type of beliefs, I can totally understand that. And in those moments, what I really suggest you do is, so together with those forces, how can you still be in charge of getting those results? Right? So I'm not suggesting that you go and contradict them, or you go against your belief systems. But in addition to those divines or God being in charge and helping you, how you can still be in charge of getting those results. So this is, I think, the umbrella term, and that will also define a lot of the other self-concept pieces that I will be talking about. But this will also help you in times when you're having a lot of confusion, or when you are believing that you don't know the answer to the question, when you believe that this is maybe not how it's going. You can always remind yourself that you are in charge of figuring things out. You are in charge of not staying confused, and finding the answers to the questions that you need to have, right? So that's important that you always remind yourself that whatever the situation you are in and your brain is like, well, I'm confused, or I don't know, or I'm stuck, you can always ask yourself, how would a person who is in charge handle this? How would the person who's in charge knows or figures things out, right? And then approach this problem solving from that perspective, from that self-concept. The other self-concept that I wanted to talk about would be, I'm the person who knows how to measure things of what's working and what's not working, right? So it's part of that I'm in charge self-concept, where you always put yourself in the position of power, in the position of power of knowing what to do and how to do next. So you can always say that you can always approach problems from, like, whenever your brain says, well, it's not working, this is not how it's supposed to be, and whatever, you can always come back to your self-concept of, I'm the person who knows how to measure things, I'm the person who troubleshoot things, rather than just stays with the emotions or just stays with the vague concepts of it's not working or it's not supposed to be. Because our brains tend to often say things like, well, it's not supposed to be this way, it's supposed to be something else, right? And in those moments, if we are getting back to our mindset of or the self-concept of I know how to measure things and how to troubleshoot, then we will know what to do and how to specifically troubleshoot for what it is not supposed to be this way and why we believe it's not supposed to be, and we get to work. The other self-concept piece in this regard would be, I'm the person who knows how to handle emotions. And this is very, very important. And actually, this is a self-concept that needs to help you also actually get curious about or with your emotions, with your feelings. Because if we believe that we're the people who don't know how to deal with fear, we don't know how to deal with, excuse me, shame, we don't know how to deal with insecurities, or we don't know how to deal with guilt, then we will always be feeling like it's out of our control. We'll always be feeling like as if someone is causing our emotions and it's not us, kind of a belief. So that's why I really encourage you to take up the self-concept of the person who is in charge and who knows how to handle those emotions, right? How to handle fear. And actually, when you are trying out that self-concept, actually also sit with it. So I'm not saying that you just make the affirmations and then magically expecting things to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work that way. So what you really need to do is, once you try this self-concept of who's the person who can, what kind of version of me is the person who can handle those emotions, how would I handle them and start handling them? How do I deal with fear? How would I deal with judgment or shame, right? How could I deal with them without judgment, for instance? Because oftentimes I also hear and see many of my humanitarian fellows who judge themselves a lot for feeling shame or feeling guilt, or they say that I'm not supposed to be doing this, or shame is telling me that I should just go back and do what I know best, which may not be true, but we need to be able to look at them from the self-concept of a person who knows how to handle them, and not from the self-concept of a person who just afraid of those feelings, afraid of when the fear appears, and we just end up going back to what we know best because we don't know how to handle those emotions, right? So you can understand that it's important for for everyone to have the self-concept of, I know how to handle my emotions because they're my emotions. I know how to listen to them. I know how to interpret their meanings, and I know what to do when they appear. And I know how to process them. And I know how to process them so that I continue working on what is really important to me instead of just defaulting to what I know best and go back there. Right. And so I did that. Yes, emotions. And what was else missing? Yes, the last point of the self-concept that is missing is for people who feel like they had to leave, they had to transition because they were laid off or they couldn't renew their contract. For those people, I have often observed that um, um, like I think it's also part of what my story as well was that when I was not laid off, but once I left my job and then I went back, and I always felt like, well, I have to do this work. I have to go through this process. I have no other choice, and I felt like I was a little in this victim mindset, right? And victim mindset being that always believing that things happen to us, that we have no control over, that we are just victims of the situation, that we can't do anything about it, and we're mad at the system and the whole thing. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be mad at the system, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't take any legal actions if you wanted to, but I'm just saying that no matter whether you take the legal action or not, be careful of adopting this self-concept of a victim mindset, because whenever we are in this victim mindset, we feel like we're powerless, that we have no control. We are just functioning in a system where we have no voice, and whenever we're feeling that way, then we're not likely to get to the results we want, instead of just being circling in our own story of how bad everything is and how we can't do anything about it, and how we have tried and it didn't work, and just keep exhausting ourselves. And then we may not be able to actually go to all the transitioning that we are wanting. We may not be able to go there because we are so caught up in our own story of how we are the victim. And whenever we are in that victim mode, we cannot move far, or we cannot really move forward without feeling this frustration, constant frustrations, constant stress of how unfair life is. Right. So that's why if you are having that type of situation, and if you're feeling that, then I really encourage you to really question that story and find out, why are you being in that story the whole time? And your brain probably will say something like, well, it's true, this is what happened. Yes, there might be truths as to the organization telling you words as to, we will no longer renew your contract, or we will no longer uh, have you as part of our team, or whatever the wording that they may have used. Now let's decide, what do you want to do with that? Right? Let's decide, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to hang up on them and say, I can't function without you. I need to be part of you. Otherwise, I won't be successful anywhere else. Do we really want to tell ourselves the story? Or we want to tell ourselves the story of, okay, this is what happened. Now, what am I going to do? How am I going to go forward and move on to other things? Even if I am battling legally with them, whatever the situation going on, like in terms of legal work, apart from that, how are you going to continue building your life, right? How are you going to continue wanting what you want despite this layoff, or because of this layoff? So don't put yourself in a powerless situation of constantly feeling frustrated and battling the whole time, and believing that you really have to do everything in this direction. But maybe exploring other direction would be also useful, and also deciding for yourself that what if you are in charge of now continuing and doing something else. So that's why this self-concept of being in charge is so important, so that you, no matter what the situation you are in, you always decide for yourself how you want to show up now, how you want to continue, how you want to transition, and how you want to achieve the result you want, no matter with this organization, with other organization, or on your own. Okay, so once you have that self-concept that you have explored for yourself, that what if I want to be this person? What if I want to be this person who does this? Once you do that, then you start acting from that concept to do all the things of what you want to do to achieve your goal. And then you can start working on it instead of working from the victim mindset, or working from the powerlessness mindset of it's not up to me, or it doesn't depend on me. Then it feels very exhaustive, it feels difficult, and it feels very hard. Yes, the other one that I forgot, this is what I was forgetting about, is that take the self-concept of a person who knows how to handle hard things, who knows how to do hard things as well. So we have talked about 4 problem categories, and self-concept of 4 solving for those 4 problem categories. So the one that we said is the being in charge of your results, being in charge of how to handle things, right? That's the umbrella self-concept. And within that self-concept, I suggested you take the self-concept of a person who knows how to measure things, how to troubleshoot things, who knows how to handle emotions that come up in different ways, and then who knows how to handle those emotions without judgment, without fear, and the self-concept piece of the person who knows how to handle hard things, and who knows how to get out of the victim mindset to the empowered mindset of a person who knows how to handle those difficult situations, unpredictable situations, to get to the results that we want. Okay, my dears, I hope that this has been helpful for you to consider this self-concept and start acting from these self-concepts instead of the self-concept of a person who doesn't know what to do, or who's confused and does not know the answers. And sorry for the background noise a bit. I was recording it with my mom being next to me, so there might be some background noise that I apologize for, but this is how it is. And I hope you still got the value out of this episode. And I can't wait to coach you in the retreat. Or if you want to get coached individually, you are also welcome to send me a message, and we will set up a schedule to start coaching on these self-concepts. So have a wonderful Friday and weekend. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.